Hey, what's up YouTubers? In this video, I give you part 2 of the Japanese entertainment magazine iEyes interview on Black Tokyo. I also introduced the viewer to Frederick Kakanami-Cloyd and Dr. Mitzi Uehara Carter, where they give their commentary on Miss Universe Japan's historic win. As Kakanami-Cloyd presented in his blog, Dream of the Water Children of Black Pacific. In this issue, Eric Robinson speaks to how Black Tokyo came to be and offers thoughts on the importance of Black Japaneseness being in the Japanese and global public eye in the present, where issues of race, gender, and nationalism are important to think into for nations to create a more positive coexistence for diverse citizens in a transnational world. Ariana Miyamoto's selection as Miss Universe Japan opened the floodgate for debate on race and identity. Many felt that Ariana is not Japanese. Well, her mother is Japanese. She was born and raised in Japan. She has Japanese nationality. And yes, she is also the daughter of a Black American that served in the U.S. Navy here in Japan. But then again, the relationship between Miyamoto's mother and father opens up another discourse on relationships, race, the military in Japan, and other related topics. Japan's misguided notion of ethnic homogeneity, based on a belief of pure blood versus the place of birth, is disingenuous. This form of social exclusion is harmful to the nation of Japan, and it must be debated and corrected. By the way, legally, Japanese ancestry is a purely civil, not racial status. Frederick D. Kakanami-Cloyd says this of Miyamoto's win. What this did was bring into the cultural spotlight the issues of identity, race, color, nation, and gender into an intense configuration that is necessary for Japan today. It remains to be seen whether this has far-reaching effects. Kakanami-Cloyd grew up in post-war Japan. His upcoming book, Dream of the Water Children, Memory and Mourning in the Black Pacific, and his blog provides analysis and opinion on Pacific Rim histories, militarism, indigeneity, Asianness, Blackness, and Black Pacific empowerment. Dr. Mitzi Uehara Carter has also chimed in on Miyamoto's win, writing, "A more nuanced approach would be useful in telling us the backstory of what kind of work this win does for everyday Japanese. Is Miyamoto's win being used by certain public figures as some kind of disavowal of racism? The proof that Japan is truly multiracial and can accept the growing mixed race population by way of Miyamoto's win? How is the discourse around this win linking up with language around difference and mixing that is already in popular circulation? Could the same pure blood beliefs be applied to the backlash that Miyamoto faced? Saying that she is not pure-blooded or too gaijin and nothing more than racist rant may be too simple of an explanation. Instead of applauding the reality of an evolving and multicultural Japan, the opposite happened. It was truly a missed opportunity, especially since Japan should showcase the nation given the upcoming Tokyo 2020 Olympics and Japan's need to deal with issues in the workplace. With that said, I can understand, or better yet, sympathize with the difficulty that some Japanese may face in embracing Miyamoto as being Japanese. To do so would probably cause many Japanese to question his or her own identity. Miyamoto referred to herself as Hafu in Japan, and while in the United States, Black. Will Hafus, or doubles, in Japan just be referred to as Japanese? Breaking the thought process will not be easy. Additionally, it seems that the Japanese identity does not undergo the same scrutiny when it is not seen as being other. This is commonly found in Japanese advertising, where the beauty standard is often calibrated with a Western, that is Caucasian, skew. For example, Itsutama Mitsukoshi deemed 20-year-old Saida Kunikida to be the perfect symbol of its new motto, "This is Japan." The London-born and Paris-raised Kunikida, the great-great-granddaughter of the Meiji-era novelist Doppo Kunikida, has a Japanese mother and an Italian father. It was reported that she launched her career as a model in the country of her roots in September 2014. Itsutama Mitsukoshi stores in Japan and overseas display the "This is Japan" message inside this image via posters and on their special website that translates the phrase into 60 languages. Now, could the same have been done that do not register as being the most beautiful due to their darker skin color? Only time will tell. After all, they are Japanese too. I was asked if the situation would be different if Miyamoto was a male contestant in a Mr. Universe contest instead. No, I don't think so, as this is more than a question of gender. Comparing the Enka singer Jiro or the sumo wrestler Sentoro is in the same respect of not being identified in media as being Japanese. Jiro, Jerome Charles White Jr., is of African American and Japanese heritage, 3/4 African American and 1/4 Japanese, as described in one major U.S. newspaper. He is the first American Enka singer in Japanese music history. I'm a huge fan of Jiro. His work ethic and accomplishments are without a doubt worthy of accolades. However, he is referred to as an American that has mastered a Japanese art form. There is often discussion of his Japanese grandmother and her marriage to a Black American serviceman. No harm, no foul, as it seems Jiro is celebrated and seen as a star in his own right in Japan. However, maybe Jiro does not pose the same threat or bring the same attack to Japanese identity that Miyamoto does, because he is not directly challenging the Japanese notion of what it means to be Japanese. His otherness is often thrust in the spotlight. For example, in the article, Race in Conflict with Heritage, Black Heritage Language Speakers of Japanese, written by Nariko Mushador and Yuri Kumagai, analyzed Jiro's reception as a Black, or Kokujin, singer in Japanese media. They posit that both the media and audiences in Japan fail to recognize Jiro as a heritage language speaker, but instead see him as a mismatch between perceived race and expected language one speaks, as well as a case of perceived race overtaking identification of a heritage language speaker. Jiro himself has stated that being an Enka singer is a matter of his heritage. The authors correctly postulate that Jiro's identity is challenged in a staged public domain, thus creating an impact on the similarity and difference at the intersections of race, language, and music. In particular regard to Jiro and race politics in Japan, Dor and Kumagai cite examples of the analogy that Jiro is a black ship, or kurofune. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Commodore Perry and the black ships arriving in the late 19th century demanding that Japan end its isolationism and trade with the United States. The term Kurofune in regards to Jiro, however, refers to the forced Americanization and coerced opening to Japan to foreign influence, that is, into the intrinsic realm of Enka. This also indexes Jiro's race, Kuro, or black, which, according to Roderick B. Ngoro in his article, Representation in the Ruling Ideas of Japan About Africans, Blacks between 1984 and 2002, can be construed as nigger versus the more commonly used term for black, kokujin. The negative connotation in using black ship has also been presented in an article by Elizabeth Miller. The article, What's in a Condom, HIV, and Sexual Politics in Japan, discussed sexual politics and AIDS in Japan, in which AIDS was the new black ship landing in Japan. In another example of Jiro being removed from the notion of being Japanese, he's often referred to as a gaijin, or foreigner, in interviews. The media does not refer to him as an African American Japanese, a Japanese American, a Black American Japanese, Blasian, nothing of the sort. Centaurio Henry, or Henry Armstrong Miller, on the other hand, is also an American. He identified as such during questioning at U.S. immigration. Centaurio, whose shikana means fighting dragon, and is fashioned from the Romaji Centauri Isu, or St. Louis, became the first wrestler from the mainland United States to reach the Makuuchi division. Centaurio Henry was born at Yokota Air Base, Japan, and raised in America. His mother is Japanese and his father a Black American. His father served in the Air Force at Yokota. The media often commented on how well Centaurio spoke Japanese, listened to rap music, or didn't like a sumo wrestler's meal of chanko nabe, but instead preferred McDonald's or pizza. He was made other than Japanese. Ariana Miyamoto received similar treatment in the press when asked by reporters, "What part of you is most like a Japanese?" She rightly replied that she is Japanese. John G. Russell, in his paper, Consuming Passions, Spectacle, Self-Transformation, and the Commodification of Blackness in Japan, quoted Frantz Fanon in saying, "Wherever he goes, the Negro remains a Negro." Those in Japan that fail to recognize the total beauty of Ariana Miyamoto and the significance of her win will hopefully evolve. If not, they will eventually fade away. In a sense, Jiro and Miyamoto Ariana have unintentionally initiated an important discourse on race, race relations, nationalism, and societal norms, to name a few, in Japan. In a country where approximately 2% of all births are to a Japanese and non-Japanese couple, this growing discussion is direly needed. Miyamoto is on a mission to eradicate discrimination in Japan. Black Tokyo will do all it can to assist by adding as much insight and the rest of the story when it comes to these conversations.